r/AskReddit, what's the most fucked up thing you ever heard? A neck breaking at a rugby game. Dude died. Honestly, it's why I got out of the game while I could. It's getting more and more brutal, even down to local clubs. If you're not a 6 feet 5 inches genetic mutant, you don't get too far nowadays. Earlier today watched an interrogation on YouTube of a woman who starved her baby to death because instead of feeding him she was doing lactation cam shows and selling the milk to strangers. She had no remorse at all. A pure sociopath. My aunt was prison roomies with a meth head who in a psychotic episode cut her newborn's lips off with nail clippers. Baby died from blood loss and the mother ripped out her eyes in front of a church after realizing what she did. She plead guilty, and last I heard was paroled a few years ago after serving like 10 years. Edit, her own eyes. Wasn't totally blind because she didn't sever the nerves so they were put back into the sockets, but was still visual impaired because of the damage. WTF. I would take out my kidney, grill it on a fucking barbecue and eat it before I would give it to you. My drunk mom to my dad, who is currently suffering from kidney failure. Goddamn, that is some cold-blooded shit. While this may go hard ASF, it's also a terrible thing to hear and I hope you are doing better now. In the 80s my grandma went to visit her 6-month-old step-grandson who had Down syndrome, and found him severely emaciated with wounds on his body. His mother had been starving him, hurting him, and dropping him on purpose. He was almost dead when my grandma found him. My grandma got custody of him and raised him as her own. She has since died and now all of her kids have helped take care of him. He's not blood related to any of us but it doesn't matter. He's ours. Screw his bio mom. Deleted. Your grandma is a badass. When I was high school, we were riding the bus to school and the bus driver had the radio playing. The station was reporting a story about some guy who got arrested while in the act of fucking a dead deer on the side of the road. The whole bus bursted into laughter. Same situation but different news item. A depressed man committed suicide by using a power drill to drill holes in his head. He died on the 7th hole. A girl used to bring her brother to the daycare we had at the alternative high school. After a while I figured out that the brother was actually her son. That was when I learned that her father was also the father of the little boy. Well, she didn't exactly lie. I met this female trumpet player. She came home late from a gig. She stayed real quiet, kept the lights off, and got into bed next to her husband gently so as to not wake him up. The next morning, she woke up to find that he had blown his brains out with a pistol before she ever got home. She slept next to his corpse all night, and then woke up to find him like that. I'm guessing she must have been exhausted, to not notice the smell of blood or gunpowder in the bedroom. Read about a story where this lady was in her apartment and passed out and died shortly after a heat stroke. Her 2-year-old died a few days later from dehydration. A welfare check was made by her family and they found all cupboards and cabinets near the sink opened and they figured it was the toddler opening everything looking for food or something to drink. Neighbors did hear the kid crying but didn't think much of it. My sister was getting divorced from a psychopath who said in court he only wanted to split custody with one of his 2 children. He didn't care about the other. The child was 9 at the time. She will never find out about this. Let me guess, he only wanted the boy. I have a story very similar to this. It was grandma shooting her pa with his shotgun for diddling her sister, and her too. That children can go through precocious puberty due to sexual abuse. Explains how the youngest mother ever was only 5 years old. Also for other reasons, our daughter started puberty around 5 due to hormone issues arising from brain damage from what I understood of it. That little girl was a sad case. Her father was blamed for years. But it turned out she was abused by a teenage boy that lived in her village. 6 years old, IIRC. She preferred to play with dolls over her actual baby. Which is honestly perfectly reasonable in my opinion. I believe it was during a Steve Wilkos episode where this mom basically let these men essay her 9-year-old daughter. She was clearly not right in the head as they kept pressuring her and asking her why she'd let these me do this. She became more and more remorseful. Not so much hurt as this happened in my family. My cousin's 3-year-old daughter Odette and died on fentanyl and horse tranquilizer. My cousin's sister is a known drug addict and his wife allowed their daughter to spend the night at his parents' house when his sister was there. We're assuming that somehow she got exposed through her. Just really wild stuff. Did the sister go to prison? My mom telling me that being sexually assaulted is just part of being a woman and that I should get used to it earlier rather than later. Is she from WW1 or something? But I'm glad that you are smart enough to understand these things. Maybe your mom was raped or something when she was a kid. A guy I used to be friends with got pissed at a kid in his old school. Rather than do what any normal person would do and ignore him, he decided to befriend him. Became his best friend, the person he shared everything with. And then proceeded to isolate him from everyone in his life, convinced him meth would help, got him addicted, and then laughed when he heard the guy odd and died. Yo, what the fuck? Fuck. Holy shit, that is Cartman feeds a kid his own parents level evil. Was listening to the radio on the drive home and out of nowhere a person who was with the local news reported that a girl had been sucked into an airplane engine. I travel for work weekly and this is one of my greatest fears. Just hearing about it kinda FKED me up. If you can't clearly make out the pattern on the nose cone of the engine, do not approach. I had a friend who came from a very religious family. His brother wanted to commit suicide but did not want the family to know, so to make it look like an accident he got really drunk and then went into the woods wearing just a t-shirt and shorts and he buried himself in the snow. He was found frozen and I'm pretty sure he died of hypothermia. Too late and will likely get lost. But my soon-to-be ex-wife were on our way to see my dad, who was abruptly dying from his cancer in a different state. On the plane ride over said I don't care if he's alive or dead when we get there. You're just wasting my fucking time. He died a few days later. Edit grammar. Was she always this callous? Or did this happen after marriage? A couple of times my job was to talk to people to keep them from killing themselves and I didn't do my job well enough. 911 dispatcher here. Don't think that way, I know you did everything you could. Pedos who claim little children are coming onto them. The delusion is truly beyond me. I used to volunteer, and live, at an orphanage in Central America. We had volunteers from the US, Canada, and some European countries. I was getting to know a new volunteer from Canada and we were kind of flirting back and forth and all of a sudden she decides to tell me that her mother used to take videos of her father raping her, the volunteer. I was so stunned I couldn't even respond. I was taking a pee in a rest stop in a rural part of Ohio and I overheard two men who worked there through event discussing which bank they were going to rob next and how they were going to do it. I got the duck out. The sound of my mother violently vomiting after breast cancer surgery. She had a very bad reaction to the anesthetics. I remember this growing up for about 2 years. She beat it and 20 years later is stronger than ever, smiley face. That there are schools in the USA where children are straight up tortured in ways that no prison would get away with, but somehow they have legal immunity. My dad telling me he would kill me if I ever woke him up in the middle of the night again when I was 5. Da fake, how can we even respond to such a thing? My cousin went on a work trip and when she came home, she found her boyfriend dead in the living room. Their dogs had chewed off most of his face. I have no idea how she was able to cope with that kind of trauma. I feel sick just thinking about it. Disturbing facts, how did he die though? Is it random that I'm curious if she was able to keep her dogs? I love my dogs so much but I can't imagine how I'd feel knowing something like that happened. Hello everyone. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to humbly ask you to subscribe to the channel. According to my statistics, 100% of my viewers in the past 28 days are not subscribed. I have always wanted this channel to reach 1000 subscribers, and if you want to support and be a part of that, subscribe. It's free and it's an awesome way to support the channel. Thanks again, Reddit glitch out.